Let's take a minute and imagine you've just been promoted to billionaire status, joining the Forbes 400 with a fortune that could fund your retirement 100 times over. Now, pray tell, what's your move? Most people in your position would delegate operations to professionals, enjoy your wealth, maybe take up golf or philanthropy full-time. Instead, you wake up at 4:30 every morning and show up to work before most of your employees have left their beds. Your business card reads Cook and Cashier, alongside CEO, and unlike most executive vanity titles, you actually know your way around the equipment because you spent years perfecting techniques that classmates dismissed as beneath them. Indeed, you own 92% of your company worth billions of dollars, yet you refuse international private flights because the expense isn't justified. This describes Raising Cane's creator Todd Graves' daily reality. A life that makes sense only if you understand that the hunger driving him has nothing to do with money and everything to do with proving that focus beats diversification, that doing one thing perfectly beats doing many things adequately, and that sometimes the most successful empires are built by people too stubborn to accept expert consensus. Therefore, in today's episode of Old Money Luxury, we investigate how one man built a restaurant dynasty by maintaining disciplines that most billionaires abandoned decades before reaching his wealth level, and explore whether what he's created represents sustainable business or a singular achievement that required qualities money can't buy and children can't inherit. Todd Bartlett Graves has built a $22 billion empire on something so brilliantly simple it sounds absurd: chicken fingers. Yes, you read that correctly. While tech moguls chase the next algorithm and pharmaceutical titans pursue miracle drugs, this 53-year-old Louisiana native became America's richest restaurateur by perfecting the art of breaded poultry strips. He ranks 46th on the Forbes 400, owns 92% of Raising Cane's, and generates $6 billion in annual revenue from over 900 locations. Each restaurant pulls in $6.6 million yearly, more than double the industry average, and a figure that makes competitors weep into their quarterly reports. Only Chick-fil-A beats those numbers, though they have the distinct advantage of divine intervention and being closed on Sundays. Graves collects an estimated $250 million annually in dividends, yet still shows up to work at 4:30 every morning, a habit that separates him from most billionaires who prefer their wealth served with a side of golf. His business card reads Founder, CEO, Cook and Cashier, and unlike most executive vanity titles, employees confirm he actually knows his way around the fryer. The man married wisely. Gwen Drain Graves, whom he wed in 2000, brought McDonald's franchise experience to the table before selling her Golden Arches in 2005. Their daughters, Katie and Sophia, attended the same Episcopal high school as their parents, with Katie adding a University of Virginia law degree to the family credentials in 2022. Graves has publicly declared his daughters will inherit the empire, envisioning they'll expand it into a global enterprise while maintaining the company's values. Time will tell if that's succession planning or wishful thinking. The family's wealth manifests in spectacular fashion. Their Baton Rouge mansion features a $400,000 treehouse that would make Swiss Family Robinson jealous. 3 levels, 450 square feet of deck space, and a 70-foot swinging bridge to a lakefront platform. In 2024, Graves set a Nashville record with a $15 million penthouse at $3,750 per square foot. He followed that with a $75 million Margaritaville building purchase on Lower Broadway, plus a Dallas penthouse and a $23 million Hollywood Hills mansion neighboring Leonardo DiCaprio. Standard billionaire real estate behavior, executed with Louisiana flair. His collectibles reveal a man who appreciates both history and irony. A 66-million-year-old Triceratops skull, Martin Luther King Jr.'s hearse, Napoleon Bonaparte's bicorn hat, each carefully curated and often loaned to museums for public display. These aren't hidden in vaults, they're shared with communities, which says something about the man behind the money. Despite commanding a fortune that could buy a small nation, Graves maintains disciplines that built the empire. He refuses international private flights, claiming the expense isn't justified. He works until 11 each morning before family time, maintaining the schedule from his startup days. Sports figures and celebrities seek him out. Post Malone, Shaquille O'Neal, Chance the Rapper, drawn to something authentic in an industry full of manufactured personas. The stories they could tell about late-night chicken runs with Graves are legendary, though we save the best ones for our brand new free Substack newsletter. There, you'll find videos and articles too hot for YouTube, as it were, as well as facts we could fit into the video. In order to access it, click the first link in the video description below, and we'll see you there later, darling. And yet, the Raising Cane's empire itself hasn't been without controversy. Bob Marley's estate sued over the One Love slogan. Indiana executives allegedly defrauded him of $2 million. California employees filed wage violation lawsuits. A recent viral video exposed food waste at his restaurants, and his comments about job hopping being a red flag sparked backlash from workers who noted the hypocrisy of demanding loyalty while employers show none. Standard corporate growing pains with a few self-inflicted wounds. On August 29, 2005, Hurricane Katrina arrived in Louisiana with winds of 175 miles per hour, and Todd Graves watched his chicken finger kingdom begin to drown. Todd Bartlett Graves came from nowhere special, which turned out to be his greatest advantage. Born February 20th, 1972 in New Orleans, raised in Baton Rouge, his family background offered no silver spoons, society connections, or startup capital. The Graves, surname itself, traced back to Norman England, de Greaves or de Graves, they called themselves, establishing estates across Derbyshire and Yorkshire after 1066. Thomas Graves had carried the name to colonial America before 1645, but no genealogist could draw a line from those early settlers to the middle-class Louisiana boy who would one day be worth billions. His parents remain shadows in public records. No country club rosters, no newspaper society pages, no business partnerships to mark their existence. This anonymity meant Todd had no family reputation to uphold, no expectations to meet, no safety net to catch him. Pure hunger, undiluted by privilege. Episcopal High School of Baton Rouge provided his first taste of the establishment world. 4 years of varsity football and track taught him that sustained effort beats natural talent, a lesson that would serve him well in 100-hour work weeks. More importantly, the school introduced him to Gwen Drain, class of 1988, whose family ran actual restaurants, not country clubs. By the mid-1990s, when Todd and Gwen reconnected, she was managing a McDonald's franchise in Baton Rouge, real operational experience that mattered more than any MBA. Their dates consisted of shop talk about French fry temperatures and salt distribution patterns. Romance built on shared obsession with operational excellence. Graves chose the University of Georgia over Louisiana State for his business degree, a decision that took him outside the Baton Rouge bubble. In Athens, he gravitated to restaurant work, particularly the deep fryer, the station everyone else avoided. While classmates chased consulting jobs, Graves perfected the timing on chicken tenders. Back in Baton Rouge, Craig Silvey was finishing his LSU business degree with entrepreneurial ambitions. When the childhood friends reunited, they conceived an idea so narrowly focused it seemed destined to fail. A restaurant serving only chicken fingers. No burgers for traditionalists. No salads for the health-conscious. Just perfectly executed chicken strips every single time. Silvey transformed their concept into a business school project, expecting validation. Instead, his professor delivered the academic equivalent of a death sentence, the lowest grade in the entire class. South Louisiana's diverse palates would never support such a limited menu, the professor explained, with the confidence of someone who'd never risked $1 of his own money. Banks echoed this wisdom, rejecting loan applications with the enthusiasm of people protecting other people's money. Traditional restaurant logic demanded variety to avoid the veto vote. That single dissenter who could redirect an entire dinner party elsewhere. Graves and Silvey had committed heresy, betting everything on doing one thing better than anyone else. The professors and bankers weren't entirely wrong. Most single-item restaurants do fail spectacularly, but they missed something crucial. Todd Graves had spent 4 years perfecting frying techniques while his classmates perfected their resumes. He'd found a partner who understood that McDonald's conquered the world by standardizing hamburgers, not by offering everything. And he possessed the peculiar combination of stubbornness and work ethic that transforms terrible ideas into billion-dollar businesses. The establishment had rendered its verdict, dismissing Todd Graves as another dreamer who'd be broke within a year. Within 5 years, Hurricane Katrina would nearly prove them right, destroying 21 of his 28 locations in a single morning and leaving him $40 million in debt. When Louisiana banks laughed Todd Graves out of their offices, he did something most trust fund entrepreneurs could never imagine. He earned his startup capital with his hands. In 1994, this 22-year-old college graduate headed to Southern California to become a boilermaker in oil refineries. 90-hour weeks in conditions where metal surfaces could literally cook human flesh. 20-hour shifts when refineries needed emergency repairs because downtime cost millions daily. Graves slept 4 hours nightly in whatever Fleabag motel was closest, banking every cent while his college classmates started their corporate ladder climbs. A fellow boilermaker mentioned Alaskan fishing paid even better, so Graves flew north and spent a month camping in the tundra, actually camping, not glamping, until a captain gave him a shot. Bristol Bay sockeye salmon fishing redefined brutal, 20-hour days in freezing waters where exhaustion could mean death. Men regularly disappeared into the Bering Sea, and safety equipment was more suggestion than requirement. By 1996, Graves had saved $50,000 through what amounted to voluntary torture. He supplemented this with $100,000 from friends and family who believed in him despite the bank's rejections, plus a small business administration loan. Not exactly venture capital, but it was his. The restaurant needed a name. Sockeye's Chicken Fingers honored his Alaskan ordeal until a friend provided honest feedback. That name sucks. So Graves named it after his yellow Labrador Raising Cane I, who became the construction site's unofficial supervisor and morale officer. Opening night on August 28, 1996, delivered the chaos that launches restaurant legends. Cash registers failed completely, delaying the opening until 9 in the evening. Graves stood on Highland Road personally waving cars into the parking lot, not delegating, not supervising, but physically directing traffic into his dream. They stayed open until 3:30 in the morning. Month 1 profit, $30. Most people would see failure. Graves saw positive cash flow. The menu's radical simplicity, chicken fingers, fries, coleslaw, Texas toast, and cane sauce, was either genius or insanity. For 2 years, Graves lived in an apartment so small above the restaurant that his bed occupied the living room, while the bedroom became an office. 8 in the morning until 3:30 the following morning, 7 days a week. This wasn't entrepreneurial theatre, this was survival. Craig Silvey, the co-founder whose LSU business plan had earned that devastating grade, quit in 1999. The official reason remains vague, but 100-hour weeks and ramen dinners test any friendship. Graves suddenly owned everything, owed everything, and had nobody to blame but himself. By 2004, he'd opened 28 locations using financing that would make risk managers faint. 15% interest from private investors, using those loans as collateral for bank loans, a structure one step removed from loan sharking. His debt-to-equity ratio hit 3-to-1. Sustainable only if nothing went wrong. He married Gwen Drain in Hawaii in 2000, and they honeymooned in a trailer eating instant noodles, not because it was trendy, but because every dollar went back into the business. They returned to Louisiana and kept opening restaurants with mathematical models that worked only if you believed hard enough. The couple shared a vision that mattered more than comfort, building something that would last. Then came August 29, 2005. Hurricane Katrina hit Louisiana with the force of an angry god. 175-mile-per-hour winds and storm surge that erased entire communities. 21 of his 28 restaurants vanished underwater overnight. $40 million in debt, zero revenue, and loan payments that didn't care about natural disasters. Todd Graves stood in the wreckage of everything he'd built through boiler-making burns and frozen Alaskan mornings, realizing that nature had just delivered the final exam his professors never could. Most restaurant chains collapsed during COVID-19, but Todd Graves made a decision that would define his legacy: 0 layoffs. While competitors rushed to cut costs, Raising Cane's CEO took no salary and sent every corporate executive to work in restaurants. Not a publicity stunt. Actual executives learning why the fryer alarm sounds different when oil needs changing. Revenue exploded from $1.5 billion to $4.5 billion between 2020 and 2023. The drive-through model Graves had stubbornly maintained, despite critics, suddenly became the only game in town. His 70,000 employees watched their billionaire boss prove that crew first wasn't just corporate speak. The man who once fished Alaskan salmon to fund his dream now ensures teenagers making chicken fingers can pay their rent. That's either brilliant leadership or brilliant marketing. Possibly both. Graves has been transparent about succession planning, unusual for a founder with 92% ownership. Katie Graves brings her University of Virginia law degree to the table. Practical expertise for a company navigating international expansion and complex regulations. Sophia Graves maintains a lower profile, though both daughters attended their parents' Episcopal high school and grew up immersed in the business. Unlike many billionaire offspring, they've watched their father maintain his 4:30 morning schedule, despite having enough money to never work again. Gwen Graves deserves more credit than she typically receives. After selling her McDonald's franchise in 2005, she focused on community work and spent 7 years doing pet therapy with their Labrador. She understood restaurant operations before Todd did, and their 25-year marriage has survived the unique pressures of building an empire from nothing. When your honeymoon involves eating ramen in a trailer, you're either delusional or destined for greatness. The competitive landscape has shifted dramatically. Raising Cane's plans to open 125 locations annually, targeting 1,600 restaurants by 2030. London, Times Square, premium real estate that would have seemed fantasy when Graves was waving cars into that first Baton Rouge location. The debt has grown to $2.6 billion, manageable with current cash flows, but leaving little room for error. The chicken tender gold rush has attracted serious competition. Chick-fil-A maintains its dominance with average unit volumes 12 times higher than most competitors. Zaxby's offers variety that Cane's stubbornly refuses to match. Popeyes has already established a British beachhead with plans for 350 locations. McDonald's added McCrispy strips because even the Golden Arches want a piece of the tender market. When McDonald's copies your business model, you've either won or peaked. Online critics increasingly question Cane's limited menu. Their fries have literally no seasoning and become soggy within minutes, reads one typical Reddit review. The sacred Cane's sauce faces skeptics who call it severely overhyped. Fair criticism or the price of success? When you serve millions daily, someone will always prefer Zaxby's. Real challenges loom larger than Reddit reviews. Labor costs have increased dramatically across the industry. California's $20 minimum wage forced price increases that may spread nationally. Chicken prices surge with every supply chain hiccup. Margins compressed 120 basis points in 2024. For a company that owns 97% of its locations, rather than franchising, these pressures hit harder than competitors who've shifted costs to franchisees. Yet Todd Graves keeps building, borrowing, and believing. Market saturation data shows overall restaurant traffic declining, but Cane's continues opening locations in increasingly marginal markets. The same professors who failed his business plan would cite this as textbook overexpansion. But then again, those professors aren't worth $22 billion. Todd Graves stands at the crossroads that define dynasties. The statistics deliver sobering reality. Only 30% of family businesses survive to the second generation, 12% reach the third. Katie and Sophia Graves face these odds with law degrees and private school educations, rather than the Boilermaker burns and salmon fishing scars that built their father's fortune. Whether that's disadvantage or simply different remains to be seen. The challenges read like a business school case study in transition risk. 2.6 billion in debt requires careful management when interest rates rise. Competition intensifies as major chains pile into the chicken tender category. International expansion into London means competing with established players who've already claimed prime real estate. Labour costs show no signs of retreating, and Generation Z workers demand more than just paychecks. Graves recently stumbled with his comments about job hopping being a red flag. The backlash was swift and justified. Workers noted the hypocrisy of employers demanding loyalty while showing none in return. For someone who kept every employee through COVID, the comments seemed oddly disconnected from his own practices. A reminder that even successful CEOs can misread the room. Yet, betting against Todd Graves has historically been expensive. His company maintains 7% margins while competitors struggle. Same-store sales have grown for 64 consecutive quarters. Raising Cane's generates the highest revenue per location in fast casual dining, except for Chick-fil-A. These aren't lucky numbers, they're the result of operational excellence maintained over decades. The succession question looms largest. Graves has been unusually transparent about wanting his daughters to inherit the business, but wanting and achieving are different things. Katie's legal training provides one skill set. What matters more is whether she inherited her father's ability to wake at 4:30 morning after morning. Sophia remains an unknown quantity, which in family businesses often means uninterested. Still, they grew up watching their father build an empire through sheer will. That's either inspiring or exhausting, depending on your perspective. The most likely scenario involves what happens to most successful family businesses: eventual sale to private equity or a strategic buyer. Restaurant Brands International, or Yum Brands, would pay handsomely, perhaps 30 billion or more, for Raising Cane's customer loyalty and operational model. The Graves family would preserve wealth across generations while someone else handles the 4:30 wake-ups. But likelihood isn't certainty. And Todd Graves has spent a career defying probabilities. Some family businesses do transition successfully. In-N-Out Burger remains family-owned after 75 years. Chick-fil-A has passed through 3 generations while maintaining both independence and principles. These exceptions required something beyond business acumen. They needed family members who viewed the company as a calling rather than an inheritance. The real test isn't whether Raising Cane's can survive competition or market saturation. Graves has already proven the concept works at scale. The test is whether his daughters will choose the business over easier paths their wealth provides. Whether they'll see chicken fingers as a mission worth pursuing rather than an empire worth selling. Todd Graves built his fortune on a simple premise: do one thing better than anyone else. He proved that focus beats diversification, that employee loyalty creates customer loyalty, and that sometimes the worst business plan makes the best business. He transformed rejection into motivation and near bankruptcy into billions. The professors who gave his partner the lowest grade in class provided the perfect fuel. Every bank that rejected his loan application added another log to the fire. Hurricane Katrina almost extinguished it, but Graves rebuilt stronger. Whether Raising Cane's becomes a multi-generational dynasty or sells for an astronomical sum, Todd Graves has already won the game that matters. He took chicken fingers, the most pedestrian of foods, and built something extraordinary. He created 70,000 jobs, fed millions of customers, and proved that a kid from nowhere special could outperform every expert who said it couldn't be done. That's not just business success. That's vindication, served hot with a side of perfectly seasoned determination. And now we'd love to see you in the comments. Have you eaten Raising Cane's before? And what is your opinion of it and Todd Graves' story? We look forward to hearing from you below.